Hi Year 11. Right, today we are basically going to be practicing 3 exam questions. The purpose is to obviously practice your exam technique, but it's also to create an evidence base for you as a student should we need to give grades for you for the coming summer. So I really want you to focus hard and I want you to produce the best 3 exam questions possible and submit them to your teacher on Satchel 1. You can type them and submit them that way, or you can take a screenshot of your work and submit it that way. It's up to you. Let's start. This is going to be the first question that I'd like you to answer. Let's have a read through it. You can pause this slide now and read it without my voice if you like. I think that would be better. So pause this now, read through it and have a look at the question, but don't answer anything. As soon as you've read it, unpause me. Okay, so we've got a question here. Using the information and your own knowledge, discuss how the features of the greenhouse development will make for more sustainable urban living. And it's worth 6 marks and we need to spend about 8 minutes on it. And you've been given a lot of information. You've got the photo there showing the urban development, and you've got what the development includes. You've got a number of bullet points there, and you've got a bit of text at the top that tells you a bit about the development. Now we need to break this question up. So firstly, you need to remember what sustainability means, because you need to show the examiner that you understand what that word means, and then you'll be able to say how the development is sustainable. So just to remind you, sustainability means living and developing in order to meet the needs of the present, but doing it in a way that causes minimal damage to the environment, economy, and society. And that diagram there reminds you of things that will be sustainable. So for example, a sustainable community is one where the environment is kept intact. So any kind of development will be environmentally sensitive, not be producing greenhouse gases, trying to minimise the amount of damage to habitats, trying to minimise water pollution and air pollution, trying to consider how energy is produced in ways that doesn't produce greenhouse gases. So that would be an example there for the environment. For the economy, we're looking for a thriving economy, aren't we, that's varied, where there are lots of job opportunities close by. And for a sustainable society, we're looking at society being active, inclusive and safe. And that society needs to be well served. So we want to try and create a sense of community with lots of services where people feel included and safe, and there's things for them to do. So those are the things we are looking for in this question. Okay, back to the question. So in bold, I have written just here, your answer must go beyond just environmental sustainability. Your own knowledge is developing the ideas in the source. And at the higher levels, students will show an understanding of the word sustainable in the context of urban areas. They will show why and how this development is sustainable, rather than just rewriting out the bullet points. So the question is, using the information and your own knowledge, discuss how the features of the greenhouse development will make for more sustainable urban living. Now, I've said we've got to go beyond just talking about the environment. And in the past, students tend to always only talk about the environment when they think about sustainability. And sustainability is not just that, is it? It's the environment, it's socially, and it's economically. So I'd like you to complete this task. I want you to use the 3 headings that I've used there: environmental, social and economic. And I want you to extract something from the source and write it out in a shorthand way like I've done for the environmental. So for instance, I read in the first opening paragraph of this work, of this source, it says greenhouse is part of an urban regeneration scheme located a 10-minute walk from Leeds city centre and close to the main railway station. So I've extracted that point and I've said 10 minutes walk from the centre and connected transport systems, which is our train station, means that, and this is me developing the point, means people don't need to use their cars. Now I'm going to develop it even more. If they're not using their cars, there's less carbon dioxide pollution and which is a greenhouse gas being produced. And if there's less of that, there's less global warming, and that will mean that there is less harm to the planet. That's what sustainability means, remember? Minimal damage to the planet. So that's me taking a point from the source and developing it. I haven't just copied it, I've developed it to explain why it's sustainable. And I want you to do the same with the links below. Now remember what we've said about social. Social sustainability is people having a lot and a variety of services. So have a look at the bullet points. Can you spot a lot of services for people and a range of services for people? Because if so, it's socially sustainable. Are they trying to create a sense of community? If they are, and there is evidence to suggest that, then again, it's socially sustainable. And finally, in terms of economic, with economic, we're looking for job creation in the area. Now, looking at those bullet points, yes, we're going to see some job creation in things like some of the things that have been built and made. But those shops and cafes are not going to create thousands of jobs. However, think about the location of the development. We've said it's 10 minutes walk from the city centre. So that's where most jobs will be got. So I want you to have a look at the bullet points, look at the text, do what I've done with environmental, but I want you to do it with social and economic as well. Now, this question's worth 6 marks. You don't need to talk about everything in the source, but I think you need a good developed point for each section, for environmental, social and economic. So I want you to do one for each, please. I don't want you to use the same one that I have used for environmental because I've already done it. I want you to choose something else that suggests it's environmentally friendly and develop the point. Okay, pause this. You need to spend 5 minutes doing this. Pause this now and do that task, please, and then move on. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, so I've given a couple of examples here, if you're wondering how your answers have gone. So for social, I've said a medical centre, nursery, playgrounds, shops, cafes, sports centre. That shows that the area is well served, allowing people to place make, to form a sense of identity, to socialise, to build friendships. This will keep people in the area and allow communities to grow, and that shows that it's sustainable. My economic point is it's close to the CBD, that's the central business district, for work, where there'll be a variety of jobs. It's also close to transport links so that people can travel on sustainable transport to other areas for work. So it said that there were cycling lanes, cycling links to the city centre and the railway station, and that shows that it's got those transport links. So those are my sustainable points. Now there's other things that I could have talked about. I could have talked about the fact that development is carbon zero, meaning that it doesn't create any kinds of carbon dioxide. I could have said that it produces more energy than it uses. That would have been another great point to make in terms of environmental. I could have said that people are encouraged to grow their own fruit and vegetables on their own allotments, meaning that they're growing organic food and they're not buying it, having to travel to buy it from supermarkets as well. But remember, it's 6 marks. So we're looking for a good developed point for each section. So keep your work clear and don't try and overcomplicate things. Okay, I now want us to have a go at the actual question. So there it is. I want you to spend at least 8 minutes on it. You may write it out, don't include that in your minute count. And then I want you to submit it to your teacher on Satchel 1. Now, can I reiterate, we are trying to build an evidence base for you. If we are asked to give predictions for your grades in the summer, we have to have evidence of your best work. So please don't rush it and don't just hand something in that's not your best effort, because that's what we have to use when we predict your grades. So please produce something of quality. I've given you some starting sentences to help you. It might be good to start the question by showing the examiner that you understand what sustainable means. So start with a short sentence on that, and then go straight into your answer. Explain why the greenhouse development is environmentally sustainable. Give a point from the source, but make sure you explain it. That's why I put the word therefore on the slide. Then go on to a socially sustainable point and then end with an economically sustainable point. Make sure you develop all three, and that should achieve you 6 marks. Pause this slide, spend 8 minutes on this now, please, and then move on. Okay, I want you to mark your own work and improve on it if you can, and then I want you to submit it so that your teacher can assess you as well. Now there's 6 marks. 2 of them will be for your knowledge. So that's your knowledge of what sustainability means and identifying sustainable features on the source. 2 marks will be for your understanding. So that's you explaining why these things are sustainable. So that's the stuff where you've written therefore or because, and you've linked it to sustainability. And 2 marks will be you using the actual source itself and applying those things from the source to sustainability. You decide what you think you get. If you want to improve your answer, go ahead and do it now. And then I want you to submit it, please, to your teacher at the end of this lesson. Pause this now, mark your work, and when you've done that, unpause. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, our second question is to give 3 pieces of evidence from the figure above to show that Dubai is not a sustainable city. Let's have a look at the information. Study the figure below showing information about the city of Dubai in the Middle East. Dubai is situated in the desert of the Middle East. The city depends on a supply of cheap energy. The amount of energy each person uses is among the highest in the world, so they're using a lot. Oil is used to turn seawater into fresh water for irrigation. Now remember, oil is a fossil fuel and it produces carbon dioxide when it's burned, which is a greenhouse gas. So it's bad to use oil, and that's what they're using. They're also turning seawater into fresh water because they don't have a freshwater supply because it's a desert. They're using that water for irrigation and for drinking and just the general running of the city, I should imagine. Air conditioning is needed in the hot summer months. Now think about it. Air conditioning requires energy, and again, that energy will come from burning oil. The city was designed for cars. Remember? Think about what we said about sustainable living. Sustainable living is riding bikes or walking, isn't it? Or using electric cars. But if it's just designed for cars in general that are burning oil, then it's not sustainable. Most visitors to the city travel by air from Europe and from India. So think about the distances. They're coming from a long way away and they're coming by air on aeroplanes. And think about the energy used in getting a plane up in the air, travelling all those distances, a huge amount. So we're looking for 3 pieces of evidence. You've also got some photos, don't ignore those. We've got an indoor ski slope. Think about the kind of energy that's going to use in order to keep the snow frozen. Remember, we're in the desert here. We've got a picture showing the electricity pylons that are having to travel great distances across the desert. We've got a picture showing lots of skyscrapers, cars, very little green space, and so on. So I want you to pick 3 pieces of evidence now to suggest that Dubai is not sustainable. Pause the slide, write your 3 bits of evidence and make sure you have explained them, please. I will then show you the mark scheme. So please pause now. Ready for the mark scheme. And here is the mark scheme. Lots you could have had. Large car ownership requiring petrol, which is greenhouse gases. We've already said about the oil being used to turn seawater into fresh water. Bad for the environment as it produces greenhouse gases. You may have written that deserts are fragile environments, they can be easily damaged. You may have said people use a lot of energy, so there's a huge carbon footprint. Nice language there. Bad for the environment. You might have said air conditioning uses a lot of energy, which comes from burning oil. Again, linked to greenhouse gases. Air transport produces tons of carbon dioxide. Again, the link to greenhouse gases. Rapid build construction. You could have said that one. It's less obvious, but it's a good idea. Ruins habitats, and making concrete is really bad for the environment. Irrigation for things like the golf courses is wasting water for leisure purposes. Indoor skiing facilities. Again, the amount of energy that must be used to keep that cold must be huge because it's a desert. Now, you only needed 3 things here. You don't have to have the exact wording as used above, but you do need 3 comments, and they need to be linked to why they are not sustainable. So make sure you've explained why they are bad for the environment. Okay, pause this slide. Mark your work, please, and then I want you to submit it to your teacher. The final question that I want you to have a go at today is this one. What extent can sustainable urban living be achieved? Use an example you have studied. Your example is Freiburg in Germany, which was last lesson. So I need you to think and look back to yesterday's lesson. The link is on Satchel 1 if you need it, but to be honest, you've all got a revision guide. Page 107 might be easier to use that. Now your task here, before you answer it, is to plan the question. I want you to use the points below to think or brainstorm what you're going to write about. Now this is how you should plan it. The question says to what extent, so you cannot ignore that bit of the question. You need to have a view and you need to start your answer with it. So what I want you to do now is look at how many sustainable features Freiburg has. Look in the book, look at how many sustainable features it has. Look at last lesson. If it has many across a range of things, then it's probably sustainable to a large extent. You can also look for any statistics to prove it's sustainable too. That will tell you how successful the city is in terms of its sustainability. So look for evidence to back up your view. Now, for the record, I think it's sustainable to a large extent. And like I said in yesterday's lesson, the city is leading the way in Europe for being sustainable. So that's proof really that it's sustainable to a large extent. It's not perfect though, and no city's perfect really in terms of its carbon output, but it is sustainable to a large extent. Now the main body of your answer needs to back up that view. So decide on what points you're going to use from your revision, and I want you to use specifics. Again, my tip is to look at the sustainable features Freiburg has. They are all on page 107. So think about what points you're going to use. It's worth 6 marks. You can't make all the points in the textbook. There's too many. So pick a few ideas. And then you need to explain why those features are sustainable. So show the examiner how they are good for the environment, people and economy. Are they long lasting? Do they cause minimal damage? That's what you're looking to try and show. And then you need to finish your answer with offering something that challenges the view. For example, I might say that although Freiburg is a very sustainable city, there's always going to be some unsustainable activities. Like there will still be cars running in Freiburg that are running on petrol or diesel that are bad for the environment. So although the city is working towards sustainability and it's leading the way and it's getting better and better as time goes on, it isn't perfect. There will still be some unsustainable practice. We know that they produce a lot of energy through solar panels, for example, and through biomass and biogas, which is great. But there will still be some energy that is probably being produced from burning fossil fuels. So, you have to critique these things. Yes, sustainable to a large extent, but there are always going to be some downfalls. So that's you planning the answer out. I suggest you pause this slide now and go ahead and plan the things that you're going to write about. Pick a few points from the book that you're going to want to make. Okay, now I want you to have a go at the question. So this is your third question of today and your last one. Answer the question, use the sentences below to help you if you need. Now remember, I think we're arguing that Freiburg is sustainable to a large extent. We can see from what's in the textbook that there is a huge variety of sustainable features that span the environment, that span people, so social planning, and that span economic planning as well. So they're trying to do a lot. I want you to use specifics to back up your answer. Again, spend 8 minutes now, make a really good answer, and then please submit that to your teacher. Thank you for listening. Please give us some feedback in Teams on how you got on today. And please don't forget to submit your work for marking. So that's, if you haven't got it finished during the lesson, If you've gone a little bit slower, which is fine, please get it finished for homework and submit those 3 questions. Thank you and goodbye.